योगीन्द्राणां त्वदङ्गेषु अधिकसुमधुरं मुक्तिभाजां निवासो भक्तानां कामवर्षद्युतरुकिसलयं नाथ ते पादमूलम् नित्यं चित्तस्थितं मे पवनपुरपते कृष्णकारुण्यसिन्धो हृत्वा निःशेषतापान् प्रदिशतु परमानन्दसन्दोहलक्ष्मीम्। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ श्री पवनपुरपतये नमः। A few words about Shrimad-Nārāyaneeyam will be in place before we enter Kapila-Geetā or Kapila-Upadesha. As you know well, Shrimad-Nārāyaneeyam is a condensed version, again in Sanskrit. The original was the great Purana running into 18,000 stanzas given by Vedavyasa himself, though in the story Shuka Muni teaches the king and this huge Bhagavatam running into 18,000 verses were was re-narrated. The whole Bhagavatam is given again a fresh composition, but the material is from the Bhagavatam by an extraordinary saint scholar, Sri Nārāyana Bhattatiri, in the well-known town now very well-known, Guruvayuru. In South Indian languages, Uru means village, town or city. So Guru, Vayu, Uru. Guru, Pavana, Pura. Therefore, Guru Pavana Purapati is Sri Krishna. The Sanskrit word for Uru can be Pura, Grama, and Nagara, and so on. And to quickly mention the background story, Sri Nārāyana Bhattatiri, once more an unbelievably great scholar of Sanskrit, very devoted to Sri Krishna, had a very painful, torturous disease all over his body, and he sat at the entrance of the temple of Sri Guru Ayurappa and went on composing these stanzas. And probably in every canto, at the end he says, "Oh Sri Krishna, free me from this disease, free me from this terrible suffering," and so on. And the story has it that at the end of composing these 1035 stanzas or 34 stanzas, 18,000 were made into 1,000, a little above 1,000, and structured in such a way. This Nārāyaneeyam has 100 cantos, and each canto has 10, some of them more than 10, 11 or 12. Therefore, 10 into 100 is 1,000. And the whole number, as we said already, is a little over 1,000. This has been very popular, and anybody who studies this Shrimad-Nārāyaneeyam will invariably be enchanted by its poetry, by its sweet sentiments, by pure devotion, and by the mastery over Sanskrit that Sri Nārāyana Bhattatiri had. It was about 10 days back that I attended a Nārāyaneeyam Parayana in Dr. Nadgir's house in Bengaluru, and that is when I went on admiring, oh my God, these verses are so pretty, both content-wise and the literature-wise, the way it is put. What you say and how you say, both are simply superb. And therefore, a thought came into my mind. I must study this. And I'm telling you an open secret. People like me, when we want to study something, we go for teaching it because teaching is the best way of studying. So I thank all of you for providing me this opportunity to study Nārayaneeyam and then present a webinar after a webinar, which I will be doing. And I have picked up something simple and easy for this first ever webinar by me on Nārayaneeyam. It is the 15th canto among the 100, where Kapila, an incarnation of Mahā-Vishnu, teaches his own mother Devahuti. The 14th canto gives the story. Who is this Kapila? To whom was he born? And who was his mother? Who was his father? And what was the background? And what did he do after teaching his mother Devahuti? So the story part is given. And this 15th canto has the contents of that great teaching. It is Kapila Upadesha. Long ago I had heard by someone who was those days teaching Shrimad-Bhāgavatam that Bhagavatam has been held in very high regard by great scholars to such an extent that they had something to exclaim, something to say loudly. Vidyavatam Bhagavate Pariksha. You want to test some scholar? Then ask him or ask her questions on Bhagavatam, both in terms of content and in terms of language, literature, poetry, and so on. If she is truly a wonderful scholar, she will have no difficulty in answering varieties of questions on Srimad Bhagavatam, and Srimad Nārayaneeyam being a condensed version of Bhagavatam, I would imagine equally deserves that compliment. You may as well say Vidyavatam Nārāyaniye Pariksha. Ask the scholar questions on Nārayaneeyam. For example, there are so many meters of Sanskrit poetry. I marked Vasantatilaka, Shikarini, Totaka, Sragdhara, Shalini, Sammata, Drutavilambita, and so on. That day I sat and found out, but this morning while preparing for this webinar, I was a little unsure what the meter of this Kapilopadesha is. I sat with paper and pencil and figured out how the syllables are organized and found out that these 10 verses, which I will cover in 2 sessions of the webinars, these 10 verses are in the meter called Mālini. And Mālini has 12 syllables, and it's a beautiful, simple chandas. Chandas or vritta, one of them would be more precise to say. And we have all kinds of samasas, all kinds of sandhis, all kinds of alankaras, and that makes us have even more regard, appreciation, and admiration for this Nārāyana Bhattatiri. So, without going more and more into his story, um, we will get into the shlokas. However, one story perhaps may be mentioned here. It is said that even when you and I have certain good qualities, we may be gifted, we may be very good in so many ways. Somehow, in the mischievous creation of the Supreme Lord, God keeps some weakness in every one of us. And Bhattatiri also had a weakness. He was a little too proud of his knowledge. And if I am pronouncing correctly, a certain other writer who wrote in Malayalam, Poodanam, had written a lot of poetry in Malayalam, and one day, with all respect and reverence, he came behind Nārāyana Bhattatiri as Nārāyana Bhattatiri was going around the temple, Pradakshina. Poodanam was following and begged of Nārāyana Bhattatiri, "Oh, great scholar, will you kindly take a look at the Malayalam composition I have made and advise me for any changes?" And Nārāyana Bhattatiri was arrogant. That too, he had some pride of knowing Sanskrit, and I'm sure Malayalam was his own mother tongue too, but he sort of said, "These are all regional languages, this is Deva Bhasha, whatever." He refused. He just asked Mudanam to get away, go away, get lost. And later, Sri Krishna comes in the dream of Nārāyana Bhattatiri and rebukes him. "How dare you do this? Do you know? I like the bhakti of Mudanam more than the vibhakti." Vibhakti, as you know, stands for grammar. Bhakti of Mudanam is dearer to me than the vibhakti of you, your Samskrita Vyakarana Jnanam. It has a slap on the face of Nārāyana Bhattatiri. Like that, there are many other stories. I too am not so well versed with all these stories, though I know bits and pieces. So, with that, let's see, we'll go into Nārāyana Bhattatiri's 15th canto in this composition of 100 cantos. I sang while beginning Yogindranam Tvadangeshu. That is a famous shloka in the 100th canto, which is all praise for Sri Krishna's lotus feet. The object of that praise there, what is said to be of greatest value, is Padamulam. And the whole shloka says, "Hey Sri Krishna, hey Karunya Sindho, O ocean of compassion, your Padamula, your feet, the bottom of your feet, you may say so, are so dear to all the yogis. Those who seek liberation meditate upon those feet. And may those lotus feet, may those holy feet of yours take away my suffering, my disease, and may give me Pradishatu Paramananda Sandoha Lakshmi." It's a very famous shloka, I guess sung by so many singers. And as you know, among in recent times, the popular singer Yesudas also sings many shlokas of Nārāyaneeyam with great feeling. Those video clips are very well known. In fact, I may quickly mention that the last verse also has been very popular. I will not go into details. I myself have to figure out how exactly what I am saying is. The last verse of the entire Nārayaniyam ends with the fourth line of it. Spītam līlāvatāraihi idamiha kurutām ayurārogya saukhyam. Ayurārogya saukhyam. And apparently, as the Tippanis give, Ayurārogya Saukyam, so on the surface means, may this Sri Krishna's praise, may this composition, may Lord Sri Krishna himself Bless us with ayuhu, long life, arogya, good health, saukya, happiness. That is the superficial meaning. Anybody would understand it. But scholars say there is some kind of coding numbers. And when you decode this expression, ayurarogya saukyam, it actually comes to put it in the Christian era, it comes to number 1587, or according to some scholars, 1588, which means that is the year AD or CE 1588. So it is end of 16th century that Sri Nārāyana Bhattatiri composed this. As Swami Tapasyananda writes in that wonderful publication of Sri Ramakrishna Mission, this is the date of the completion of the composition of the Nārāyaneeyam, 23rd Sunday, it is said, 27th November 1587 or 1588. Scholars have slight difference of opinion. Some say it is 1587, some others say 1588. But you look at it, Ayurarogya Saukyam has a hidden coding. And you decode it, you get the year, date, day, etc. of this composition. I have taken the liberty of spending quite some time on an introduction for two reasons. One is some introduction to this whole text is in place. Another is we are going to have two webinars on this. And there are only 10 verses. And bhakti, devotion, while being a very effective tool, highly ideal even for our times, or especially for our times, very, very necessary for even those of us who might imagine we are good intellectuals. The language of the heart is great. While it is all true, the literature of bhakti generally is a bit easier to handle. Therefore, I don't need much time to explain the 6 verses which I will cover in this webinar, and 4 verses I have kept for the second webinar, and I may share some general aspects also in the second webinar 2 weeks from now. With this, let me open up some slides so that you may see the shlokas as I comment upon them. Okay. Here we are presenting the 280th webinar of our forum from Nārāyaneeyam. Kapila teaches Devahuti. And the very first verse of this 15th canto, first of the 10 verses, goes this way. Matiriha gunasakta bandhakruteshvasakta tvamritakrduparundhe bhakti yogastu saktim mahadanugamalabhya bhaktirevatra sadhya kapilatanuriti Devahutyai Nyagadi. Different tunes are possible. I just sang in some way which came to my mind. So, Matiriha Guna Sakta Bandhakrut. This is a punchline. This is a statement with which all of us will have to agree. If you and I, in spite of being exposed to great scriptures, in spite of coming in touch with great Mahatmas, in spite of gaining some understanding of Vedanta, Adhyatma Vidya, etc., in spite of it all, if we remain bound, if we are beset with loneliness, sorrow, regrets, anxiety, insecurity, or whatever, if in spite of all spirituality to which we are exposed, we suffer from worldliness, in a single sentence, the scriptures say the reason is guna sakta mati. Matiriha guna sakta is the expression here. Mati is mind. Our mind is sakta, attached to. The word used is guna. Guna here means prakriti, sense objects. Because prakriti made of the three gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas, uh, brings before us all kinds of sense objects. Either objects that we enjoy directly through senses or indirectly by holding a position, having certain power, having fame, name. Ultimately, it is some kind of gross or subtle pleasure seeking, and our mind hovers over the pleasures. Therefore, gunasakta matihi iha bandhakrit. One sentence is over. In contrast, asakta, teshu asakta, bandhakrit teshu asakta, asakta matihi, if by God's grace, by Sri Krishna's kripa, if our mind, mati, becomes unattached, it eats a jalebi, next moment forgets, moves on. Doesn't say, I hope to get more jalebis. That kind of spruha, that kind of raga is not there. Meet with pleasure, move on, forget it. Meet with pain, forget it, move on. Have a mind which forgets everything except the feet of the Lord. So, asakta teshu guneshu teshu vishayeshu asakta matihi tu amritakrit. It causes, it brings about amrita, immortality. It liberates us. But the big question of practically minded people is, how are we to get unattached? That is given right away in the second line. Bhakti yoga saktim uparundhe. Uparundhe bhakti yogastu saktim. Sakti is attachment. Get into bhakti yoga. Ride in the car, ride in the chariot of devotion. You will find your attachments held in your bosom for decades, for lives maybe, will all go away. Bhakti yoga saktim sangam asaktim uparundhe, holds or stops, blocks. You can't have any attachment if you are getting deeper and deeper into bhakti. Go ankle deep, slowly go knee deep, or ankle deep, then knee deep, then slowly waist deep, then slowly neck deep. Drown, get immersed in bhakti. Then where is Sakti? Sakti goes away. Attachments go away. Now we ask another question. But how to grow in bhakti? Third line answers that. Mahad anugama labhya. Mahat anugama labhya. Mahat is Mahatmas. Be around Mahatmas. Be in touch with Mahatmas. Be in touch with Satsanga. Then the bhakti will grow. Bhakti hi Mahat anugama labhya bhakti eva atra sadhya. That is what is possible for you to achieve, and once you achieve that, rest of it will follow. I was hearing yesterday a motivational speech by, there is a certain gentleman in Chennai, so many of you may know. Matriya Ra, his name. He speaks very wonderfully. And he is talking about, he was addressing a wonderful large audience in Indian Management Association in Indore. in Madhya Pradesh, packed audience of all corporate people and probably academicians in management science. And he says to them, you want to grow your business, you want to sell your products better, you want to succeed in work, you got to be in touch with people. And in order to be in touch with people, he says two things. Very interesting it was. A 6 minute talk or so, no, a little longer. He says, give people time, then a bond will develop. And not just time superficially, communicate with them properly. Time and communication and time. He was insisting, and a wonderful talk. Mahatriya Ra, or just put Matriya, Mhatria. You will find so many video clips by that gentleman. He's a little funny too and has sense of humor. Anyway, you know how wonderfully it applies to spirituality also. You want to develop bhakti, but you hardly give time to Sri Krishna. Always you have many other things to do. For heaven's sake, be regular. Even 15 minutes, maybe before sleeping. No matter how tired you are, last 15 minutes of the day, do some japa and put all your heart into bhakti. And communicate. Talk to Sri Krishna. Ask him for any damn thing. No problem. He understands. Even if it is some silly thing. You want some groundnuts, peanuts tomorrow. Krishna, bless me with peanuts. Ask. Communicate. And slowly the communicate will improve. So, having said this, Bhattatiri addresses Mahā-Vishnu. See, this whole Nārayaneeyam is Bhattatiri's communication with Sri Krishna. Kapila Tanuhu Tvam, you in the form of Kapila, because this Kapila is incarnation of Mahā-Vishnu. Among the six Astika Darshanas or Vaidika Darshanas, you have Nyaya and Yoga, Sankhya and Vaisheshika, Purva-Mīmānsa and Uttara-Mīmānsa. One of them is Sankhya, and the Rishi who gave Sankhya philosophy also is Kapila. That is different. That was a great scholar, great Rishi. Kapila gave Sankhya and Gautama gave Nyaya. What is that? Yoga was given by Patanjali. Jaimini wrote sutras on Purva-Mīmānsa. Vedavyasa himself wrote sutras on Uttara-Mīmānsa, that is Vedanta. Like that, there are rishis. That rishi is different. But this Kapila Muni is Sakshat Avatara of Mahā-Vishnu. Tvam, Nārāyana Bhattatiri says, Lord, O Sri Krishna, O Guru Ayappa, you came in the body of Kapila and Devahuti, to your mother Devahuti. You said all this. The first three lines are what Kapila said to his mother. Nyagadihi. Gad Gadati means to say. Ni plus Gad, then a certain form of past tense. So how nice. Straight away he gets into the glory of bhakti. Prakriti mahadahankarascha matrascha bhutani api hridapi dashakshi purusha panchavinshah iti vidita vibhago muchyate asau prakrutya kapilatanuriti devahutyai nyagadihi. O Lord, Kapila Tanu, having the Tanu, the form of Kapila, you came on the earth, and to your mother Devahuti, you said a few more things. Nyagadihi, you said what? You gave the gist of the Vedanta's outlook. Prakriti, Mahat, Ahankara, 3. 5 matras, 8. 5 bhutas, 13. Rit, Antakarana, 19. Prakriti Mahad Ahankara, Matrascha Bhutanyapi, Tadapi, Dashakshi, the 10 Indriyas, and Purushaha is the 25th. Counting may be a little up and down, forget it. So this is the what they call Chaturvimshati Tattvas, in Tattva Bodha, etc. you have, plus Purusha, 25. In other words, The Shastras say to us, understand this creation, understand yourself in the backdrop of this classification. There are all these components and everything is mixed up at this time. You are the consciousness principle, Purusha. You are caught up in this Mahatattva, Ahankara, Tanmatras before fivefold mixing, Panchikarana, and then Antakarana. Hrit is Antakarana here. Akshi literally means eyes, but Dasha Akshi means five sense organs, five organs of action. We are caught up in all that. You must separate yourself. Vidita Vibhagaha. Anybody among you and me, suppose pays attention to this drishti given by the Shastras and slowly abides by being the consciousness, the witnessing consciousness, and lets go of our obsession, attachment to other things. Muchyate asau prakritya. Prakritya, though third case, here means fifth case. Prakritya. From the hold of Prakriti, the person gets liberated. So, though he stresses bhakti, he gives elements of jnana. Because jnana is Atma Anatma Viveka. What is Anatma, what is Atma has to be figured out. And for heaven's sake, stay with the Atma. Do not get carried away by those numerous anatmas, things that are not the self, things that are not you. Be yourself. Don't be something that you are not. Then muchyate. Likewise, in the third of the 10, and in the verses we are looking at in this session, third of the 6, there is the shloka. Prakriti-gata gunaughaihi najyate purushoyam yadi tu sajati tasyam tadgunastam bhajeran madanu tattva आलोचनै सा अपि अपेयात् कपिलतनुरिति त्वं देवहूत्यै न्यगाधीः. Hey Vasudeva, you came in the form of Kapila Muni and said some more things to Mother Devahuti. And essentially, Prakritigata Gunaugaihi na ajyate. Anybody, man or woman, child or old person, single or married, no matter what. Na ajyate. Ajyate here stands for sajyate. He is suppose not attached. That's the trick. That is the simple essence of spirituality. Many thoughts arise and fall. Many emotions arise and fall. We should not get carried away by them. A thought arises. There is some ice cream in the refrigerator. Just a little is left. Why not I finish it and then come back to my japa? You know, Puja Gurudev Chinmayananji used to say, not to do what you feel like doing is freedom. So you feel like going and taking that ice cream, then coming back doing Om Namo Nārāyaneeyam Japa. You never know. If you just go try to do what you feel like doing, from there you may not come back to the place of Japa. You may go in front of TV and try to see what is happening. Then something else, something else. Just don't do whatever comes up in your mind. Exercise Viveka. The heavens will not fall if I don't eat that ice cream. It will remain for tomorrow. Or why should I eat? There are grandchildren, let them take. Why am I? Why should I? So that is na ajyate. But second line says yadi tu sajati. If you get attached, then powerfully Bhattatiri puts it, the words of Kapila Muni as said to his mother, Tasyam tadgunaha tam bhajeran. Those gunas of Prakriti, they possess this sadhaka. They dance and sadhaka starts dancing. They change and sadhaka changes. The seeker in you and me, the spiritual aspirant in you and me, will be continuously going up and down. We are tossed about. We are thrown in the air by the gunas, all because we got attached to them. Therefore, friends, by the way, you and I have been studying Vedanta for many years, most of us here, if not all. It would be a wonderful exercise to sit for some 10 or 15 minutes every day without doing anything at all. Sit. If it's very difficult, notice your own breathing or give some small, simple exercise. But first, overcome the restlessness, overcome the Rajasic tendencies to go and rearrange the books, to go clean couple of vessels in the kitchen, go clear an email, go answer a WhatsApp message. There are 100 things rising in our mind, and it is good for us to train ourselves maybe for 11 minutes. Put a soft alarm for 11 minutes. Don't move even a finger. Sit comfortably, sit a bit straight, and even on the thought level, you don't initiate any thought. If a thought comes, look at it. That's all. Neither suppress it nor add fuel to the fire, neither encourage it nor condemn it. Be attentive. One is you could give yourself the job of observing breathing if you want something to hold on, because it may be very difficult when you actually try to do, or you may give yourself a slow and soft japa. Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. Something hold on. You will find from sajati, the state of getting attached, you will go to na ajyate, first line. But the punchline in this shloka, that's what we gave in the synopsis also when the invitation to this webinar went to all of you. Madanu bhajana tattva alochanai sapyapeyat. Sa api. Sa here is prakriti. That is this maya, this collection of sense objects, emotions, etc., which are all basically made of the three gunas. Sa prakriti apeyat will vanish, will just go. It will take to its heels. It will disappear. Be sure, be confident. How? If by doing what? Madanu bhajana tattva alochanaihi. So do bhajan of Vasudeva. If you are tired of songs, some bhajans, recite Vishnu Sahasranama. If that bores you, recite something in Malayalam or Kannada, Telugu or Hindi, Gujarati or Tamil, yeah, something. Or look at the Rupa of Mahā-Vishnu. If you feel sleepy, walk up and down, pace the hall, pace the room. Anubhajana, Satatam Bhajana. And in between, if your intellect sort of wakes up, do Tattva Alochana. Here, Alochana means contemplation. Alochana here is thinking. Think about how God alone is true. All else is Maya. Be careful. Remind yourself. Alochanai. Bhajana Tattva Alochanai. Esha Prakriti Apeyat. Apagachet. Will vanish. O Vasudeva. O Pavanapurapati. You came as Kapila-Tanu and Nyagadihi. You said this to your mother Devahuti. Kapila-Tanu rititvam Devahutyai Nyagadihi. And now in the, which verse is this? Fifth verse. Fourth verse. So in the fourth verse of the six we have selected, again, Sri Nārāyana Bhattatiri gives us an example of how we may think of Lord Vishnu. Vimalamatirupattaihi asanadhyaihi madangam garuda samadhirudam divyabhushayudhankam ruchitulita tamalam sheelayeta anuvelam kapilatanuriti devahutyai nyagadihi. You came in the form of Kapila and said to Devahuti, these things. What? The way to do sadhana, for example, there are 1,000 ways to do sadhana. Sometimes you, I don't know how to do sadhana. What are you talking? You have money in your pocket, you are in a super mall, and you say, I don't know what to buy. Anything you can buy, go enter, buy it. Spirituality is like a super mall. There are countless ways of exercising our mind. Vimalamati, Vimalamatihi. You and I, with some guidance, with some satsanga, we become Vimalamati. Our mind is purer. Then Upattaihi Asanadhyaihi. We will learn to acquire. Acquire means learn, get the skills. Not bad. These days I am able to sit 10 minutes quietly. Isn't it great? Not bad. These days I start reciting Vishnu Sahasranama and unlike olden days, complete it and then only get up. Olden days, how unsteady I was. I would recite three shlokas and then say, "Oh my God, that that payment has to be made. This is due date today." You leave things halfway, or your mind wanders. Now, upattaihi, you have developed some skills in sitting quietly, asana, and madangam Shilayeta. Third line has the verb Shilayeta. One must contemplate upon. Madangam means Sri Krishnasya Angam, that is his form. Anga, Angi, and Deha. What form? Well, one option is imagine Mahā-Vishnu, Garuda Samadhirudam, Garuda Samadhirudam, mounted, seated upon the great eagle Garuda, Divya Bhushayudankam, having those divine shining ornaments upon him. Ruchita, Ruchi Tulita Tamalam. Tamala apparently is a certain flower and of certain color and certain shining quality to it. So imagine, visualize Mahavishnu having that resplendent form, full of glory and ever ready to bless you. It's you who are not turning towards him. Ruchi tulita tamalam shilayeta. One must contemplate, one must meditate upon Vishnu anuvelam, anukshanam. Anu means continuously, moment after moment. Train your mind. This is what you said to your mother, O Mahavishnu. In the fifth of the selected shlokas, Mama guna gana leela आकर्णनैः कीर्तनाद्यैः मयि सुरसरिदोघ प्रत्यचित्तानुवृत्तिः भवति परमभक्तिः सा हि मृत्योर्विजेत्री कपिलतनुरिति त्वं देवहूत्यै न्यगादीः. Kapila said to Devahuti in this very wonderful avatara, Mama Gunagana Leela Akarananihi. If you can't read, you can't yourself, pick up something on your own, contemplate, go. Sit at some Hari Katha. Sit at some Satsanga, Akaranana. Listen to God's noble virtues. Guna Gana, hordes of noble qualities of the God. And his sports. how he blessed Dhruva or Prahlada, how he stood by Ambarisha. Bhagavatam and Nārāyaneeyam itself gives so many examples of Bhagavan Vishnu standing by, protecting devotees, the Leela, Akarnanehi, listening. And then you will feel like singing. Kirtanadyehi. You attend a satsang, on the way back home, you yourself will be singing something that the Harikatha sang towards the end. So it will come in your mouth, it will come in your mind. Mai Sura Sarid Oga Prakya Chittanu. So then you will find in your chitta, in your mind, certain loving thought, loving emotion towards God will flow like the continuous flow of Ganga. Ganga is called Sura Sarit. Sarit is river. Sura Sarit, it is Devanadi. Oga is a whole Rashi, a whole lot of water keeps flowing. Go to Rishikesh, go to those Himalayan places where Mother Ganga is in full force. The way Ganga flows is itself inspiring. Like that, when our chitta anuvritti, our contemplation flows without hindrance, spontaneously, then we must understand, finally, Parama Bhakti, there is supreme devotion arising in me, Narayana, Narayana's grace. And you said to your mother, such bhakti, sahi, mrityoho vijetri. Such bhakti can conquer death. Vijayakartri, vijetri. Kapila-Tanurititvam Devahutyai Nyagadihi. You said all this to your mother, O Sri Krishna. Such you who left behind such a divine legacy, may please protect me, may please cure me of this ailment. Not for anything else, to enable me to sing your glory more and more. After we reach certain stage in the spiritual journey, we don't have any worldly desire, but we wish from the bottom of our heart. Well, I don't know how many years are left in my life, but I want to sing Sri Krishna's glories more and more. Rather than being idle, lazy, distracted, worried, anxious, etc., I want to be 18 hours a day, 19 hours a day. I should be sharing thoughts, not to impress somebody, not to project myself, but rather share the joy. My life should be filled with the joy of spiritual contemplation, and it will also fill others with joy. What else do we need? And really speaking, who I am is not important. Let me just vanish, but let there be, continuous engagement. So such becomes the outlook of Parama Bhakti. We see one more verse for this session. In fact, in the second half, not all five verses, but two to three verses, Nārāyana Bhattatiri gives a description of the worldly life in which we are caught generally. We read all this, we talk about all this. Ultimately, sometimes right after the satsang, we say, two samosas must have remained. Yes, two samosas have remained on the platform, kitchen platform. I will rush to our attraction to sense objects overpowers us. So this verse, number 6 out of the 10, the entire canto has only 10. Ahaha bahula hinsa sanchitarthai kutumbam pratidinamanupushnan strijito balalali vishatihi grihasakto yatanam mayyabhaktah kapilatanuriti devahutyai nagadihi. A worldly person is described. That is an exclamation. Oh, I don't want to talk about a worldly person, but I have to do justice to the whole literature. How Daivi Sampat operates. how Asuri Sampat works in this world, both have to be said. Aha, Bahula Hinsa Sanchitartaihi. The worldly man or the worldly woman collects, accumulates, amasses wealth and other pleasure, power, position, etc. Many times resorting to violence, himsa, resorting to unfair means. And kutumbam pratibidam anupushnan. Whether the family members want it or not, the person himself or herself, out of his or her attachment, goes on collecting. Like Valmiki, not Valmiki, Valmiki. As the Daku Ratnakara was going on getting gold and other things. One day his wife gave it to him, almost slapped on his face. I never wanted all this. Who asked you to get all this? Who asked you to attack people going by the forest path? You earned a lot of sin, and I'm not going to take half of your sin. Daku Ratnakara, the robber, he was shocked. What? You are not going to take half of my sin? That was a moment of awakening for him. But she was right. She never wanted. And we are very Rajasic. We do something which our parents may not want, which our spouse may not want, which our neighbors may not want. But we are not able to restrain ourselves. So that is hinsa, where there is hinsa. As we evolve, as we grow, we serve people, but we are sensitive to their true needs. We are sensitive to their whether they welcome a gesture by me or that gesture is more a distraction or a disturbance to them. I believe there was a mother who loved her child so much. She would put the child to bed and every 10 minutes shake him and said, "Are you sleeping well?" After 10 minutes, shake him and say, "Are you sleeping well?" What a prarabdha of that child. The child third time said, "Mom, don't come near me. Leave me alone." All of us are like that. All of us are like that. In various ways, but in different ways, we behave insensitively. Bahula hinsa sanchita artaihi kutumbam pratidinam anupushnan strijitaha. Very often, a man is so much under the control or so much carried away by attraction to woman, or if it's woman, so much carried away, so much attached to men. And then some others are not attached to the opposite gender, but so attached to children, balalali. Always my child, my daughter, my son, and so on. Vishatihi grahasaktaha, thus attached to people, things, possessions, bank balance, pleasures, travel, this, that. It's so confusing. One doesn't even realize what is happening in one's life. All that one knows is one is not happy in life. You are not happy in life because you have not noticed a whole lot of silly attachments you have not only continued to have, but have supported, sponsored, given all kinds of nourishment to it. Wake up, take note, be aware, do a self auditing, to use the language of chartered accountants. Do a self auditing. How am I spending my time? What is happening to me from the time I get up till the time I go to bed? What things hijack me? Am I Balalali? Am I Strijitaha? Am I Himsa Sanchitartaihi Kutumbam Pratidinam Anupushnan? We'll find that sometimes all of them are in us, or one or two. When we are like that, Vishatihi Graha Sakto Yatanam. So we suffer, continue to suffer. Yatana is suffering. And Kapila Muni said to Devahuti, that's what happens to somebody who is not bhakta, but mai abhakta. Vishatihi graha sakto yatanam mai abhakta. Yan sandhi mai abhakta. Kapila tanurititvam devahutyai nyagadihi. In this way, 6 or 7 verses end with the same line. Kapila tanuriti tvam devahutte nagadi. Or 8 also. But 9 and 10 end in a different way. Tvamapi janahitartam vartase pragudichyam Guru Pavana Puresha Tvai Upadatsva Bhaktim. We'll see in detail in the next session. But the last of these 10 verses says there is nothing, there's no need to go on and on. The sum and substance of all that you said to your mother that day in the form of Kapila Muni, O Vasudeva, O Guru Pavana Puresha, is Bhakti cures us of the ailment. You please give me Bhakti. Guru Pavana Puresha, Guru Ayurappa, Tvai Upadatsva Bhaktim. Give me Upadatsva, place in me. Bring to my heart Tvai Bhaktim, devotion to you. That will cure me of this disease also, and so on. So this way we have Kapilopadesha. We'll continue as announced on the 22nd. We will have second part of Kapilopadesha of Shrimad-Nārāyaneeyam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.